Hello and welcome back to my channel. I'm so glad you guys are here. I am about to tell you all about the new moon solar eclipse we're having on Monday and how that's going to affect you. I'm going to do a general overview of what all the planets are doing right now and what the bigger picture is when it comes to the astrology. And then I'm going to jump into detailed horoscopes for all 12 zodiac signs. So stick around. I really encourage you to watch the general overview in addition to whatever your sun sign and rising sign is. The horoscopes are written for rising signs. They apply just as well to sun signs. If you know both, definitely watch both. So, as you've probably noticed, there's been a lot of tension building. The energy around eclipse season is always really, really intense. But the cool thing, the good news, is that this is number 2 out of 2. And very soon after this new moon eclipse, things are going to start chilling out. We're going to have an opportunity to integrate all of the lessons learned. And so the tension is going to drop by a lot. However, we are still in the middle of Mercury retrograde, and all of these things factor together into kind of a complex situation. So let me run you through exactly what's happening right now. We have a planetary party, is what I like to call it, in the sign of Aries. And the eclipses that we have been having and will be having over an 18-month period, they started a few months ago. They're all on the axis of Aries and Libra. Aries is the first sign of the zodiac. It's a fire sign, much like a laser beam. Incredible focus and warrior-like energy. Associated with the planet Mars, there's a desire to take action and a time frame of like right freaking now. And the North Node is in Aries, which means that our collective karmic destiny is growing in the direction of being more focused, being more dynamic, being more present in the here and now. And the South Node in Libra is what we're leaving behind as a collective, but also personally. Libra is the 7th sign of the zodiac, and it's associated, it's symbolized by the scales, and it's associated with one-on-one relationships. All the ways in which we interact with the people in our lives, personally and professionally, and the balance that occurs therein. So here's the thing about all these eclipses on the Aries-Libra axis. With the South Node in Libra, we're leaving behind all of the balancing acts and the games that we play. And the Aries-Libra interaction is like me versus we, action versus reaction. So we often, as human beings, fail to see the bigger picture. Sometimes we don't really acknowledge the step-by-step ways in which we arrived in the present moment. And what we'll do is we'll have a very focused way of looking at something that happened or something that somebody did, and we will have a reaction that we justify. I'll give you an example. Because I'm a parent, this is something that happens a lot. You know, one of my kids will yell or use a bad word or hit somebody, for example. And when you call them on it, when you say, hey, we don't do these things, they say, well, I did it because I was mad. I did it because somebody wronged me. And even as adults, we make those same kinds of excuses and justifications. But the other really important thing that's happening this week is Mars is joining Saturn in the sign of Pisces, and it's almost like having Mars and Saturn conjunct in the 12th house. The 12th house is that which is hidden, and what we have is an energy of how in which are we blind? How are we blind to our own participation in situations that was part of the step-by-step way in which we arrived in the present moment? If we go, oh, I did this because I was mad, or I did this because so-and-so did this first, but maybe we forget that 4 steps back, we did something that started this chain of reactions, right? So there's so many ways in which we can be blind to our own actions, to the effect that our actions have, and the bigger picture as far as how all of these things came together and came to be in the first place. And with Mercury being retrograde right now, we are essentially on an energetic and metaphysical kind of level, we are essentially being asked to sit in a corner and sit in time out and think about what we did. If we can just imagine on a metaphorical level that the universe is a very loving and kind parent who isn't afraid to draw a boundary every now and then and say, hey, think about what you did. You can't do that just because you're mad. So that's the energy of these eclipses. I really do encourage you to, try and take a step back as far as whatever it is that you're dealing with right now, because odds are the answer is not going to be in the tiny, tiny details. The answer to whatever it is you're dealing with is actually going to be in some sort of broader theme, and when it comes to the bigger picture or how everything came together. So I drew all over this chart. Wait, I think I actually printed out a fresh version. Okay, here's the chart for the eclipse. This is what I mean about a planetary party hanging out here in Aries. And what we have happening this week, even though I drew all over it, I feel like this is a better printed version. The sun and the moon are going to be in the exact same spot. That is a new moon. Because they are aligned with the north node, it is a new moon solar eclipse. For those who are in North America, depending on the weather, you might have a chance to see it. Really cool stuff, really awesome educational opportunity for kids. Please do not look directly at the sun. Just a little PSA for you, it can burn your retinas, but there are lots of safe ways to observe the eclipse. Sorry, I'm a Virgo, I have to talk safety. But anyway, so on a metaphysical level, we've got this new moon happening. This little thermometer looking guy, this is Chiron. Chiron is Pluto's moon. Chiron is the wounded healer. It is an opportunity when Chiron is activated like this. It's an opportunity to shine a light on, this is the sun, shine a light on whatever great themes of pain you have in this lifetime, and also shine a light on how can you heal from them. And sometimes we block our own healing because we are either self-sabotaging or we are repeating some sort of story to ourselves in which we are abdicating responsibility either for the injury or for the healing process. Sometimes we say, well, I can't heal, I'm going to be mad forever, or, the way in which I was wounded has changed me forever. Sometimes these are valid observations for sure, but what we are being given in this opportunity is to rethink our perspectives, rethink any ways in which we might be blind to solutions or blind to ways in which we are kind of part of the problem. It's a very, with Mars conjunct Saturn in Pisces, there's a really strong energy or a theme happening of not verbalizing what the problem is, not articulating in a way that allows for solution discovery. Rather than problem solving, what if we call it solution discovery, right? Often what will happen, especially in the Aries Libra interaction, me versus we, in the context of relationships, let's say somebody does something, it really gets your goat. Then you have a choice. Do I bring this up? Do I talk about this? Do I open up the space for solution discovery? Sometimes we will block solution discovery because we'll be like, oh, well, this person, they should know what they did, so I'm not going to say anything. Then you have an elephant in the room, and then the things aren't discussed. So the themes that we need to be aware of this week are, how are we potentially part of the problem? Action versus reaction. Are we too focused on the tiny details? What can we see in the bigger picture that'll really help us understand? And are we somehow either lying to ourselves or avoiding the truth of a situation by kind of swimming away, or denial, self-sabotage, being our own worst enemy, any of those kinds of themes, right? Hiding from the truth is also hiding from the solution. So do keep in mind that raw, honest awareness and evaluation are definitely going to be the pathways to resolving some of these interrelationship conflict issues. So this eclipse cycle, it is going to continue. We're going to have another couple of eclipses in like September, October. Sorry, I don't remember the exact dates. But right here, right now, when we finish this new moon solar eclipse, we're basically good for the next 6 months. And the next 6 months are going to be all about, how can I integrate these lessons learned? How can I be more mindful, more aware, more responsible for my part in the action versus reaction thing. And the other thing that you're going to find moving forwards is that some relationships are not going to survive this process. If there have been themes of sacrificing yourself, sacrificing your dignity, being a martyr in a situation, if there have been such chronic themes of imbalance represented by Libra, the South Node representing what we're releasing and what we're letting go of. It's in Libra, so any of the ways in which they're unhealthy, balanced, they're going to be left behind, left in the dust. And you may have already noticed that because we had the full moon lunar eclipse in Libra on March 25th. And so right around that time, between the spring equinox, like March 19th, up to March 25th, and maybe a few days after, you may have found that certain relationships or certain situations in which there was imbalance, you may have found closure, release, endings, willing or unwilling endings. Sometimes when we're not willing to make these changes ourselves, life just finds a way. So for example, in the context of relationships, if we play that whole martyr game or not talking about what the issue is because they should just know what it is, if we do those things and take a step back and don't allow for solution discovery, what happens is that over time those relationships fall apart anyway because there's an elephant in the room, because things aren't talked about, because communication's not there. So just like that Rush song, even if you choose not to decide, you still have made a choice. Whether or not you take action to either create, maintain, or establish balance in your relationships, either you choose to fix it or you choose to release it, but one way or another, change is going to happen. And that's the thing about eclipse season. Change happens. Often we have been waiting, and it's a breakthrough and we're glad to have it. And sometimes we've been avoiding, and then the thing just happens anyway, and we might not be glad that we have it. So it is a lot more fun to steer the boat of our change. Because of the energy right now, because of so many planets in Pisces and so many planets in Aries, there is a connection between the wisdom that we have gained over a long period of time, Pisces, and putting it into action here, now, and moving forwards, Aries. So as you kind of tread this line between maturity and immaturity, wisdom and practical application, it's not always easy, and it's not like we can just flip a light switch and boom, we're healed, boom, we're wise and smart and enlightened. No. It is a step-by-step process. It is the kind of thing where we have to just every single day practice, right? So again, some relationships, some situations in your life are going to improve as a result of this, and some things are going to be released or fall apart as a result of this. So just want to make sure I covered everything. Oh yeah, so because Mercury is still retrograde in Aries, again, there's a kind of energy around the quality of time right now. Go slowly. Move carefully. Think things through. There is going to be a tendency, especially because Mars is conjunct Saturn. Typically that is a very frustrated, like no action is happening. I've hit some sort of an obstacle or a barrier, or just like banging our heads against a wall energy this week. There is a sense of time really slowing down this week to a slow crawl. And as a result, you might feel waves of frustration or like, blah. This is not the week to bulldoze your way through life. I can tell you that for sure. Everything about the energy this week is slow down. Do things carefully. Do things with great love. Be mindful. Be conscious. Be intentional with what you do. And if you experience some sort of reaction happening in your life, rather than being like, whoa, this is happening and blah, 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 take a step back, look at the bigger picture and ask yourself, have I potentially contributed to this? What are the contributing factors? Right? How can I be aware of the bigger picture and therefore resolve the details? But this is really exciting as far as having a new moon solar eclipse in the sign of Aries is a beautiful welcome opportunity for us to really embrace a fresh start, a clean slate, and a new passion for living our best lives. It's like an opportunity to feel like a kid again. It's an opportunity to really leave behind things or relationships or people that have been weighing us down, making us feel exhausted and drained. Anything that you can do to revitalize your life, revitalize your head, your heart, your soul, your relationships, that is the best way to kind of claim this beautiful potential new energy right now. Fresh starts all around. So really cool stuff. And then of course we are leading to a breakthrough April 20th with the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction. That's going to be super cool. So please do surf the change that is happening right now. Don't resist it. It will find you anyways. So I'm going to jump into the full-length detailed horoscopes written for rising signs and sun signs. I'm going to start with Aries. And what we're going to be covering is what was released with the full moon of 2 weeks ago, what is opening up right now with the new moon solar eclipse and a cazimi. When the sun joins Mercury, it is a cazimi, and a moment of being like, I think, therefore I am. Breakthroughs, awareness, having just the most amazing clarity this week, huge potential for realizations. But the most important ingredient is don't run from the truth, even if the truth is uncomfortable, even if the truth means that you have to acknowledge that you have failed or not reached your full potential or contributed to a problem. These are not going to be easy realizations, but the moment that we say, hey, yeah, I did that, I own that, it sucked, and I'm going to work on that, boom, the pathway to the future opens. And the longer you run from the truth, the longer you avoid taking responsibility, the longer the suffering will be. So, yay. I love you guys. I'm rooting for you guys. Be brave. Amazing potential this week. So Aries, sun and rising. The full moon 2 weeks ago was an opportunity for you to release a great deal of emotions around relationships and emotional attitudes or perspectives or attachments around what other people in your life are doing. And it may have been the kind of thing where you reached peak frustration and you were like, I am so frustrated and so done with this person or with this person's behavior. But here's what's really important to think about. Am I really frustrated with this person, or am I really frustrated with this person's behavior? The two are not always going to be completely intertwined. We do have to try and take a step back and think, okay, is this behavior representational of who this person is in general, or is this behavior or choice or action isolated, and do I have way more faith in this person that maybe this behavior can be dealt with? So please do try and separate those two. But yeah, the full moon 2 weeks ago would have been kind of peak either frustration or release. And sometimes what comes as a result of that, especially if you've given somebody lots of chances or you've seen a pattern of behavior, the energy 2 weeks ago was hitting that point of being like, yep, that's all the proof I need. This person has shown me what kind of a person they are. I'm done. Right? So some sort of peak realization, some sort of peak emotion about either the behavior or attitudes of the people in your life and the emotions that it brings up in you to experience interactions with them. What came out of that and what is opening up for you with the new moon solar eclipse this week, happy birthday, dear Aries out there, is an opportunity for you to go, you know what, instead of being so emotionally bothered, instead of feeling like a victim to whatever's happening outside of me, this is an opportunity for you guys this week to say, hey, I'm responsible for my happiness. I'm responsible for my feelings. You might find yourself, giving the finger to somebody and being like, we're done here. But whatever way in which you reclaim your energy and reclaim your emotional balance and stability, that's going to be the highest path for you this week. So this week could also involve realizations around helping people, healing yourself, realizing maybe that you've been pouring energy or pouring your emotions into a black hole pit and it's just not worth your time. reclaiming your energy in a way that also validates your feelings and says, hey, my feelings are important. Because sometimes one of the most frustrating things is to have your feelings hurt or to have your boundaries crossed by somebody who doesn't take any responsibility. And then it's not just about the emotions about the situation, it's additionally and compounded by your emotions around this person's reaction to the situation. It ends up being doubled or tripled, right? So the more that you can kind of either detach from people who continually cross your boundaries, or make sure to modify your expectations for people so that they are appropriate. But if you find yourself continually bothered and continually crossed by someone, enough's enough. So the new beginning this week is an opportunity to really see that clearly. If somebody shows you who they are by behaving in a certain way, especially repeatedly, pay attention. Don't necessarily give them the benefit of the doubt if they haven't earned it and they don't really have a right to it. So the realizations that you have this week are also going to be tied into realizations of how maybe you keep a lot up here. Maybe you keep your opinions to yourself, and maybe a huge part of why things keep happening is because you either say it's fine or you don't say anything at all. So if somebody does something that bothers you on a repeated basis or enough that it is an issue, if you don't say anything, you're kind of part of the problem, because how are they supposed to know if you don't say anything? But then again, sometimes there isn't space to say anything. If it's a boss, if it's a situation in which you just don't have a voice, these become even more difficult, because then you have a sense of like, I have to put up with this. So there is also an opportunity for you this week to make some decisions and maybe kind of keep a plan of action secret to yourself. For example, if you're suffering underneath a boss, it's repeated transgressions, you don't have a voice, then what could open up for you this week is a plan to get the F out of there and you know, either, what is it called, silent quitting or actually quitting. But there is an opportunity for you to maybe make some plans in private to detach, to release, and to get yourself out of a challenging situation. The other thing that could be opening up for you this week is an opportunity for you to examine your attitudes, the ways in which you keep things secret, the ways in which you don't communicate what you really need to, maybe thinking about that part of it, of how you might be contributing to the imbalance that exists. But this is a really, really beautiful opportunity, especially the new moon solar eclipse on Monday. Focus on yourself, make yourself happy, fill your own cup, be a healthy level of selfish, and have a great freaking birthday. I hope you have an amazing week. Mwah. Take care out there. Taurus, sun and rising. 2 weeks ago, you were releasing unhealthy attitudes and unhealthy relationships in which you were either thrown off balance, or you were in a position where you had to continually make sacrifices. It's one thing to serve others in your profession or in your line of work, or if you're volunteering, but in your personal relationships, if you find yourself working, that's something to really think about. So 2 weeks ago was an opportunity for you to really kind of examine your emotions and look at where you're really going grumble, 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 grumble in your day-to-day life. And sometimes we convince ourselves that we're stuck, but what was opening up for you 2 weeks ago was an opportunity to say, hey, I'm not stuck. Hey, I have a choice here, right? So the new moon solar eclipse happening on Monday is an amazing opportunity for you to clear out your headspace and think about, am I really stuck? Is this really a mystery, or is this actually a very straightforward situation? And maybe even examine your fears or your attitudes or your beliefs around whether or not you are allowed to have an opinion, or whether or not you're allowed to set boundaries around how much energy that you give. So lots of times, if we bring something up with a friend or a partner, and all we wanted to do was problem solve, and we get such a horrible reaction out of it that we're like, wow, okay, I'll never do that again. All of a sudden we've silenced ourselves, but only because somebody else couldn't take it. not because there was anything wrong with what you were bringing up, but because the other person simply couldn't take it. Please do think about all the times in which you've silenced yourself, or alternatively, your reaction has caused somebody else to be silenced. It's really hard to hold space with patience and grace and quiet when somebody has something negative to say about us, or when we have something negative to say about somebody else. But ultimately, those are the most incredible growth experiences that we can have, as long as we can just humble ourselves and not react with pride. So those are the kind of themes that are happening in your life right now, whether or not you're the one struggling with pride or whether or not somebody else in your life is. But that 6th and 12th house balance happening with the eclipse cycles right now is all about what is directly in front of you and what we either ignore or kind of put on the back burner. Either you are ignoring your own needs because you're taking care of other people's needs, or you are ignoring mental health issues because it's easier to just go, it's fine. So consider all the ways in which you say it's fine when it's not necessarily fine, because things really need to come out into the light right now. And with Mars conjunct Saturn in your 11th house, you are really focused on making meaningful long-term goals. And in order for you to expand all of the mental health growth, all the spiritual awareness growth that you've been really doing lately, in order for you to really put it into action, it's almost like there's kind of a missing piece. So the missing piece is going to be tied into the ways in which you self-sabotage, the ways in which you are blind to the effect that you have on your reality, and it's all tied into the ways in which you consider yourself stuck, all the ways in which you're like, oh, I have to do this, or I can't say no, this person needs me. Or so if you find yourself saying things like that, I can't, or they will never, or I could never, think about any of those always never statements and consider whether or not you might be a little bit too far into extremes in your thinking. So choosing a path moving forwards that aligns with your highest good may also involve taking a really good look at the crossover between what you do for a living and what you do in your personal relationships. So just make sure that you're not working too much in your personal relationships when those should be an opportunity to relax and enjoy balance. And those roles that we fulfill often have deep, deep roots. So this is possibly going to be a time of deep detangling, but be brave and you will come out the other side completely refreshed and clear if you're able to be humbly aware of all the interconnected pieces. So good luck. I hope you have a wonderful week. Gemini sun and rising. 2 weeks ago, you might have found that you were just gushing with emotional expression. The full moon happening in your 5th house meant that your feelings were just on the surface. You have your heart on your sleeve. But sometimes, especially for you guys, it's really important to have the opportunity to discuss what you're going through. It's like your personal way of processing your experience is kind of always going to be storytelling, because you're a Gemini. That's your thing, right? Gemini sun and rising, either way. So storytelling to process is really interesting though, because if we surround ourselves by cheerleaders, we're never going to hear anything other than an echo chamber of our own thoughts and perspectives. But if we take a step outside of our comfort zone and maybe ask a professional, a counselor, an outsider, a stranger, crowdsourcing on the internet, people on Reddit will be brutally honest with you, but you're going to get the straight truth. So there's a lot of ways in which we either, we'll storytell sometimes just because we want to hear ourselves talk and we want our friends to go, yeah, man, F them or whatever, right? Having our back, right? Because it feels good. It fills our pride. It helps us feel more comfortable. And it also supports us as we avoid taking responsibility, right? That's one pathway. And that's the kind of Mars conjunct Saturn in Pisces pathway. But there's another pathway that has been available and continues to be available. And that is one of sharing your story with, like I said, an outsider, a stranger, a professional. It's not necessarily going to tell us what we want to hear. They're going to tell us what we need to hear. So as you purge your emotional state, consider what your goal is in that expression, because you really need an outside perspective in order to have a well-rounded perspective of your own. And fresh perspectives are really going to help you reassess and realign with long-term goals that are in your highest good. The new moon solar eclipse happening on Monday is in your 11th house, and it's not just about empty goals, it's about meaningful goals. And if you feel in any way that your life lacks deeper meaning, this is going to be a really significant time for you, because you're going to be really inspired and compelled to commit yourself to something that gives you a sense of meaningfulness. So as you move through this week, be aware of any obstacles that present themselves, and be aware of your instant reaction to those obstacles. For example, oh man, nothing ever works out for me. That's an attitude to check. Or any always or never statements, any ways in which you blame your circumstances on other people. Oh, they're always like that, and I'm always the victim, and I'm such a nice person, and they're always so terrible. Just consider any of those always never statements, because again, it's as you tell your story, a path is opening up for you, and this is just the best way that I can describe it. If you continue telling a story in which you're the hero or the victim and it's everybody else's fault, and you surround yourself with cheerleaders, you're going to get stuck in a loop. But if you are genuinely open to new information and new ways of perceiving things, including dropping your pride and humbling yourself, maybe taking some responsibility for whatever's happening, then all of a sudden a beautiful path opens up. So if you can tolerate a little bit of discomfort in the moment as you're looking for solutions to what you're dealing with, then you can move forwards. But if you're not willing to tolerate any discomfort, it's actually going to prolong the discomfort. I hope that makes sense. So if you align with your ideals, you will find the ideal outcome. So I do hope you find the answers that you're looking for. I can't stress this enough. Maybe talk to somebody that you don't usually talk to, and you're going to find the solution that you're looking for. So be brave, and I hope you have a wonderful week out there, you guys. I'll see you next time. Cancer, sun and rising. 2 weeks ago, the full moon lunar eclipse activated your 4th house, and it might have been a time of really kind of just wanting to shut out the world and having a huge emotional release. You often carry emotional reservoirs. Everything in your life creates feelings. You don't always have an opportunity to release those feelings. And so sometimes they end up getting bottled up or saved up like a reservoir. And you need to create space in order to release them. And so 2 weeks ago, it would have been a huge release. And you may have even found yourself saying things like, this isn't fair, or feeling really kind of like at the bottom of a wheel, or like life is doing you wrong, or because the Aries Libra axis, the me versus we, for some people it's activating themes of relationships, but for you, what's really getting your goat is the Libra sense of equality and fairness and justice and things turning out okay. So that would have been a really difficult period to go through. At the same time, you've had a new path opening up, new information, new opportunities to adjust your plans, new opportunities to recalibrate where you're going or how you're going to do it. But you know, you would have had to sit with those emotions for a bit before you were able to come out of it. So the blessing is that on Monday with the new moon solar eclipse in your 10th house, where there might have been darkness and confusion before, now there's a clear step or clear path moving forwards, including the steps that are going to get you there, a map, a plan, maybe even a support system. So I do hope that you were able to make it through the emotional muck over the last week and a half. And what is opening up for you is an opportunity to either find healing or find peace in release or closure. With Mars conjunct Saturn this week in Pisces, another water sign just like you are going to find a boost to your stamina, a boost to your patience, your willingness to go with the flow, some sense of peace around the whole situation or the ways in which things are playing out or the new direction that you're going in. So definitely it's been quite the roller coaster for you guys. Just make sure to take things one day at a time, 1 hour, 1 minute at a time. Go slowly, go carefully, and as much as you can, just be here now in the present moment, because it does feel for you guys like thinking too much about the bigger picture, thinking too much about the end result or the final outcome might really trigger some emotions again or really overwhelm you. So kind of opposite, I was telling everybody else in the general overview, think about the bigger picture, but for you guys, it might actually be easier to focus on one step at a time, one day at a time. If you're okay with the present here and now, absolutely start thinking about the future. But if you find that it triggers your emotions, give yourself a deep breath, ground out again, and don't move forwards until you're ready, right? But one step at a time, be gentle with yourself, go with grace and ease, and continue asking for help, continue reaching out. You know, the emotional upheaval last week might have caused you to kind of retreat and get quiet again. But one of the biggest ways in which you've been experiencing breakthroughs lately has been the input, advice, and even professional input of others. So do definitely continue reaching out as much as you feel comfortable, asking for help, crowdsourcing, or simply maybe just kind of sharing with people that you're close to, hey, I'm struggling, or, you know, hey, I really just need a hug, or I really just need to have a bitch sesh with somebody. Can I just talk about how much stuff sucks? It's so nice to be able to do that in safe company, and people that love you are going to be like, hell yeah, go for it, lay it on me, right? I want to hear it. I'll hold space for you. So let yourself be loved. Definitely go slowly this week, and I wish you guys all the very best. I hope you have a wonderful week. I'll see you next time. Leo, sun and rising. The full moon lunar eclipse 2 weeks ago was definitely a peak of maybe conversation, connection, social activities, definitely a flurry of activity, definitely a quickness. Lots was happening for you, but also a sense of either dead ends, closures, where you kept hoping you'd find a new beginning, maybe something fizzled out. Stop and start, stop and start, stop and start kind of energy. So you may have felt really frustrated over the last week and a half, 2 weeks, but one of your biggest kind of outlets for energy has been the opportunity to connect with people, to talk to people, and to also be able to express the emotions that you're going through. Sometimes just to be able to have somebody be like, hey, I support you. I don't really have any advice, but I'm here for you. And then sometimes your conversations did lead to access to support, access to encouragement, or perspectives that were going to help you move forwards. The new moon solar eclipse happening on Monday and the Cazimi with the sun and Mercury is all happening in your 9th house. So the stop-start energy, you know, maybe you got news that you weren't expecting, maybe something that you were hoping for didn't work out. So any of those kind of surprise endings or obstacles or challenges that came up, I really do hope that you were able to talk about it, to ask for help, to reach out to your support network, because the new moon solar eclipse on Monday is in your 9th house of new perspectives, new information, new opportunities, and breakthroughs. So Monday is definitely an opportunity for you to move forwards with new awareness. But the warning that I have for you is that, much like another sign that I was doing a minute ago, what's going to come through for you guys is not necessarily what you want to hear, but what you need to hear. So just brace yourself for a little bit more of this theme of either unexpected news, things that you didn't really want to know, or things not working out. But the really important thing is that you have an opportunity to move forwards if you're willing to change your mind about something, if you're willing to let go of something that you believed, or you're willing to accept new information that's going to help you understand something better. Because what you're leaving behind is being locked into something in which there's almost a glass ceiling. You either didn't see the bigger picture, or you didn't understand how you were part of the problem, or it was almost like you've been missing really important information. And this really came to a peak a month ago when there was the full moon in Pisces, and there was a sense that there was like a mystery to be solved or something coming through, right? And now that the information is coming through, it's almost like you don't even want to acknowledge it or look at it. But there is truth in there. If you are willing to change your mind, if you're willing to hear new perspectives, if you're willing to think outside the box, to do things differently, to approach things differently, that's where you're going to find the pathway moving forwards. But the Mars conjunct Saturn, the Mars-Saturn conjunction happening this week in the sign of Pisces is in your 8th house. So here we have a choice point. If you keep doing things the same way that you always have, you are going to be like a character in a board game that gets the little card that says go back to start. And you're going to have to start the whole journey over. So karmic soup is the word that I wrote down for you guys. You are in the middle of karmic soup. And all I can say, and I hope this isn't too vague, but this is the message for you guys, is if you keep doing the things the same way, things are going to repeat the same way. And if you're willing to change your choices, change your mind, change your perspective, accept somebody else's point of view, accept a different way of looking at things, accept that you might actually be wrong about something, that's where the breakthrough is going to happen. But you have to be willing to do things differently, to look at things differently, or talk about things differently, and it's not going to be easy. So I wish you guys all the very best. Please, please, please be brave. Leo is often associated with pride, and admitting either that you were wrong or something you did was wrong can be experienced as like literal physical discomfort. So I don't blame you for avoiding these things. Every human ever deals with avoidance, and you know, maybe your sign is going through it right now, but in 2 weeks it's going to be a different sign, so don't worry about it. It's not like you're on the spotlight here, but it is all about your energetic relationships. It's all about the patterns that have been established. And if you're willing to look for clues, you're going to find breadcrumbs to the solution. But you have to be willing to change your mind about something because of the new moon in the 9th house. It's a new belief. It's a new perspective. It's a new piece of information that's going to give you the freedom that you're looking for, or the breakthrough that you're looking for. So be brave. I hope you guys have an awesome week, and I'll see you next time. Virgo, sun and rising. 2 weeks ago, you had an opportunity to release attachments. And sometimes it comes through in emotional upheaval. The full moon lunar eclipse in the sign of Libra would have been a peak emotional experience in which you decided that either your attachments or your expectations were no longer viable, possible, or realistic. So those attachments or expectations could have been around yourself, as far as what you're manifesting, as far as what you're doing with your time, or as far as the people in your life and the expectations or attachments that you have with them. But basically what would have happened about 2 weeks ago, and probably continued thereafter, is feeling done. And maybe you have had a really hard time keeping up with your responsibilities, and so feeling done was like, okay, I'm just gonna have to let go of something like Vacuuming the floor, it can wait. It's fine. I need to do other things first. I need to take care of myself. I need to meditate. I need to, like, you know what I mean? So having to really kind of apply triage to what is in your immediate physical environment has been part of the picture. And then the other part of the picture is the karmic patterns that you find yourself in. So the full moon release was in your second house, really encouraging you to think about your immediate physical environment and how that reflects perhaps your state of mind or your energetic state of balance or imbalance. And then the new moon solar eclipse happening on Monday is an opportunity to either make different choices, start a new cycle, start a new pattern, or really kind of allow yourself to see the bigger picture in a different way. Virgo is definitely associated with cleanliness, hygiene, being at our best, wanting to look after all the little details. So it's quite possible that part of your process has involved literally decluttering, literally cleaning your physical space. But then as you do it, maybe you found something that you're looking for. Maybe the freshness helps you feel like, whew, at peace. There is that connection between, see, the whole thing with this Aries Libra axis, the whole thing with these eclipses over, you know, throughout this whole year, to be honest, is all about what is happening in the energetic realm and how that manifests in your physical reality. And if you want to change something in your energetic realm, the key might be changing something in your physical reality, like cleaning your house to feel better spiritually. Or alternatively, if you're trying to manifest money, second house issues, you might need to clean out something in your energetic realm. Beliefs, core beliefs around worthiness, around lovability, around limitations, scarcity, money, struggle. So, right? So as above, so below. That is the message for you guys this week. As above, so below. If you want to affect something up here, consider working here. If you want to affect something here, consider working up here. Remember that there is always going to be, for every action, there's going to be an equal and opposite reaction. There's a law of physics, but we can also apply it to metaphysics. So don't discount how useful energetic work is. Prayer, gratitude, mini rituals. You don't have to do something grand and extravagant and, you know, out of an ancient spell book or anything like that. You simply have to be present with your mind, your heart, your body, your energy, your love, your emotions. Be present here and now, make an intention, commit to it, and watch it manifest. Magic is a thing. So Mars conjunct Saturn in your 7th house is an indication that for like at least the next couple of months, you might be really avoiding contact with other people. You might be self-isolating. You might be withdrawing from relationships. There's definitely a theme of taking a step back from relationships that are exhausting you and not really giving you anything in return. You are able to start making healthy choices in which you're like, hey, I'm not really going to put my energy into this anymore, or whatever's coming through. But the whole theme for you is that you can't change other people. You can only change yourself. And so if you do find yourself self-isolating right now, make sure that you're using that time wisely and not just disassociating, because that's definitely a risk. Use that time wisely. If you want to spend time by yourself, make sure you're loving yourself. Make sure you're taking care of yourself or cleaning your space or whatever it is. It's going to help you feel like in balance, right? So give yourself that balance. Don't expect it from other people. And if other people throw you off balance, withdraw your energy. It's as simple as that. So I hope you guys have an amazing week. Good luck out there. Mwah, and I will see you next time. Libra, sun and rising. It's so funny. This is where I stopped writing notes because I found it was taking me way too long to write notes. And I was like, that's okay. I just need the house numbers. What I mean by that is that the full moon lunar eclipse that happened 2 weeks ago was in your first house. And so it was an opportunity for you to release some form of your identity. And it would have been releasing a form of your identity that only existed in the eyes of others. Sometimes we kind of become somebody in certain company. Maybe around, you know, friends, certain friends will be the clown, will be the joker, and then around other friends will be the really smart one, or whatever it is, right? But we kind of take on these roles because of or as a result of the circumstances involved, or the other people or the other players involved, right? So you would have experienced a huge release, and maybe even an emotional release, around some form of identity that you used to really closely wear, and identify with. But it was more of a character or a role or something that you partially were in a lot of ways, but a part of you that you've also grown out of and you're ready to let go of. But what's hardest is when people think that that role is who you are, but you're like, no, 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 no. That was just a hat I was wearing. That's not the real me. The real me is this over here, right? You may find that you're having to reintroduce yourself to people. And with the new moon solar eclipse happening Monday in your 7th house, that's exactly what's implied. That you're like, hey, I want to reintroduce myself. I am no longer that role I used to play. I'm no longer the victim. I'm no longer the one who's going to serve everybody else and put my needs last. Hi, I'm somebody that takes up space and I'm proud of it, right? Or whatever your new personal reintroduction is. Now, you might find that because of how much you've evolved and how much you're letting go of some of those old responsibilities you used to carry or roles that you used to play, you might find that the people who saw you in those ways are also being released. As soon as you stop playing that role, those friendships fall apart, right? And so it might be a combination of almost reintroducing yourself to people who have been with you for a long time, or what's also coming in is a whole bunch of new relationships that really align with who you are now instead of who you used to be. And these are kind of cycles that we all go through as humans. The more often you evolve and change and grow, the more often your friend circles are going to change and evolve and grow. And if you're the kind of person who's been pretty much the same with no tweaks or changes for the last decade, 2 decades, likely story is that you're going to have the exact same friends that you used to have, right? And that's where we start to feel really discombobulated in our personal relationships, is if we are evolving and changing and our friends are either having a hard time with it or they don't see us as the new person, and we might kind of feel like we have a foot in 2 different worlds. So your personal level of comfort or discomfort is going to be reflected in the weeks to come as this beautiful new infusion of energy, of new relationships, new interactions, new ways of being seen. And you're really going to be attracted to the people in your life, or the new people that are coming into your life, that reflect the new you back to you. And that's why sometimes it's almost easier to make new friends, because we're not having to catch people up on how much we've changed. We meet somebody and we're like, hey, this is me, changed me. And they're like, hey, this is you. They don't have any frame of reference, right? So what's coming through is that with Mars conjunct Pisces this week in your 6th house, in order to maintain this new version of you, it's having to be applied in your day-to-day life, as far as the choices you make, as far as the interactions that you have, as far as the ways in which you communicate, the ways in which you relate, the patterns, the spoken and unspoken agreements that you have with people. It's not just about deciding that you're going to be different. It's about putting all of that learning, all of that growth, all of that healing into practice, changing how you present yourself, changing how you set and enforce boundaries, changing how you listen and talk and interact, right? All of it's changing. So you are meeting new people. You are a fresh version of you. What's a little bit slow to catch up is how you put that into practice in your day-to-day interactions. So as much as you can, because the Pisces involves a little bit of avoidance or a little bit of self-denial, it's going to be really important that you are super mindful of the ways in which you are potentially slipping back as far as old patterns or old ways of relating or old ways of avoidance, not speaking your truth, not being honest, not being authentic, right? But all in all, it looks to be a profound new beginning for you. So I hope you have an amazing, magical week. I wish you all the very best, and I'll see you next time. Scorpio, sun and rising. The full moon lunar eclipse 2 weeks ago activated your 12th house. It might have been a time of a cat being let out of the bag, or, you know, the can of worms being opened. All these metaphors for secrets being revealed, because the full moon represents peak energy, but also peak awareness, closure, maybe something being blown out of the water. It could have been an explosive truth bomb. It could have been the kind of thing in which somebody had a couple drinks and they slipped that so-and-so is engaged or pregnant or something like that. And it's like, whoops, big news is now all of a sudden out in the open. But the other way in which this energy could have come through for you 2 weeks ago is that it could have been your own personal realizations. It could have been your own discovery of new information, new perspectives, something that you had completely forgotten about. And then you find a memento in a box and you're like, oh my God, I forgot about this person, or I forgot about this event in my life, or something like that. So yeah, secrets being revealed, but not just that, emotions around it. And the emotional release of maybe not having to hold on to the secret anymore, or the emotional relief of, oh my God, thank God I finally got to talk about that, or thank God I finally got to get that off of my chest. So if some sort of a secret or mystery has been weighing you down, the really cool thing is that the new moon solar eclipse happening on Monday is all about new beginnings when it comes to healthy day-to-day living. Maybe resolving not to have any secrets. Maybe resolving not to be with people that make you feel like you have to hide who you are or hide what you think or what you feel. You have a new found commitment to living authentically in your day-to-day life in a way that is minimalistic, easy, simple, not complicated, no secrets, no pretending, no mind games, no bullshit, no drama, no none of that, right? You're like, oh, I just want to live simply. I just want to have like peace and easy interactions, right? Like easy like Sunday morning. So this new beginning energy that you have this week is part of this kind of broader theme that you've been having of really kind of working hard to achieve a healthy work-life balance in your life. Wanting to make sure that your physical health is being supported by plenty of opportunities to rest, to play, to be creative, to be silly, to shut out the world if you want to. And so as you've been kind of like recalibrating all these different aspects of your life, now this new moon this week is really cementing in new patterns, new habits, new ways of being healthy, new ways of living your life that you're okay with. It feels simple, it feels relatively easy. And yeah, the broader pattern that we were talking about with that work-life balance, Mars conjunct Saturn this week in Pisces is going to really kind of energize that desire to be creative, to play. So you're definitely going to get a boost of that. And if you are the type of person that kind of tends to slip back into workaholic patterns, it's going to be a great week for you because it's going to be a reminder of how important it is to play. Maybe you get invited to go play on a, local adult softball team or something like that, you know what I mean? Or ultimate frisbee, and you're like, oh, right, yeah, I'm not going to answer extra work emails after work today. I'm going to go play with my friends. You know what I mean? Go for a bike ride around the neighborhood, even though I'm an adult, you know what I mean? Like, have fun. So definitely keep coming back to that theme of nurture your inner child, validate your inner child, because as long as your inner child is happy and fulfilled and feels safe and feels nourished, your inner adult is going to be healthy and productive and really at peace. So as long as you're looking after both, you're rocking, you're golden. So I hope you have an amazing week, and I'll see you next time. Sagittarius, sun and rising. 2 weeks ago, the full moon lunar eclipse activated your 11th house, and it would have been a time of possibly emotional release around your desire to lead a meaningful life. And it may have been the kind of thing where you took a really good look at your goals, your dreams, and what's happening so far, and maybe you applied a little bit of triage as far as like, okay, what's realistic and what am I gonna have to let go of? What's a pipe dream, right? Or what would I like to really dedicate myself to, and what feels like it's a closed door, or maybe something that's not happening, right? So there may have been a lot of emotions as you were really kind of deep in thought about the bigger picture a couple weeks ago. But any of those emotions, any of those breakthroughs, any of those really deep contemplative thoughts that you've been going through over the last couple of weeks are coming to a head this week as you have an opportunity with the new moon solar eclipse happening in your 5th house. It's an opportunity for you to kind of double down on your creative efforts, but also double up on your self-promotion. You know, you're such a happy-go-lucky person that most people don't know that you struggle with a lot of insecurities and a lot of fears because you're so good at being like, hey, I'm awesome, how's it going, right? People don't necessarily pick up on how much you struggle. So it's often quite hard for you guys when you go through couple weeks, couple months, couple years of feeling dark, feeling depressed, feeling frustrated, feeling like you're losing hope. So this week is a blessing. This week is a really awesome opportunity for you to feel recharged when it comes to loving yourself, pursuing your dreams, pursuing your creative ventures, promoting what it is that you do in a way that's like confident, and not just fake confident, but like genuinely loving yourself, genuinely being proud of yourself, genuinely being like, okay, I'm actually really, really stoked on what it is that I'm doing, and I'm really stoked to share it with the world, right? So being able to step out of like a fake smile into like a real smile is definitely going to be a blessing, definitely going to put a little pep in your step this week. So do please take any and all opportunities to play, to be creative, to talk about what it is that you do. Take that first step, take that initiative, create that website, advertise yourself, whatever it is that you've been hesitating on as far as like putting your creativity or putting your work or yourself out there into the universe. This week, just freaking do it. Shout it from the rooftops. The Mars conjunct Saturn in Pisces this week is going to be in your 4th house. So the reason I'm like, come on, go do it, go take advantage of this energy, is because you're also going to have this very, very heavy, like, I just kind of want to put on my jammies and watch some Netflix and not go anywhere. You're going to have that kind of like, oh, I just want to stay home. Oh, I really don't really want to do anything. And it's going to be the kind of thing where you are expertly procrastinating what you should be doing or what you know you want to be doing by fulfilling less important obligations. Like, what I mean by that is like, you know that you would really be proud of yourself if you, for example, posted on social media about the creative work that you've been doing, right? But instead, Mars conjunct Saturn in Pisces compels you to reorganize your spice cabinet instead. A fake responsibility that you really didn't need to take care of, but it's used as a form of procrastination because what you're procrastinating is something that genuinely both excites you and terrifies you at the same time. You have been doing so much to expand your creativity, to flourish, to thrive, but a lot of it has been done in your own private space. And so what's been kind of a theme for you guys over the last couple months, and it's going to continue because of this eclipse cycle, is it's all about, do you take that brave step? Do you self-promote? Do you share yourself with the world, right? So just wanted to encourage you this week to, yeah, of course, if you want to have a Netflix and jammies day, for sure, do it. But don't stop yourself from sharing your gifts. The world would really, really appreciate all the fire, all the sparkly, jazzy energy that you have to share with the world. Do it. People like you don't come around very often. And instead of dimming your shine because you're afraid of maybe failing or maybe experiencing rejection or something like that, just shine bright like the sun. And you're going to get the feedback, the encouragement, the support that you need. It really is a magical opportunity. So believe in yourselves, do the thing. Of course, you know, if you need to, go slowly, go carefully, go with great love. Don't necessarily just like, you know, shoot a glitter gun out into the world, unless it's called for, of course. You may find that you feel more comfortable with expressing yourself or promoting yourself if you plan it out. If you take your time and think carefully about, okay, I'm going to share this piece or I'm going to say this thing. But nonetheless, make sure that you do the thing instead of just procrastinating. I hope you have a magical week, and I'll see you guys next time. Capricorn, sun and rising. Last week you were releasing some sort of attachment to the future. Last week's full moon lunar eclipse had some sort of emotional release or emotional closure around some sort of outcome that you had been expecting or demanding or looking forward to, and something about it fell apart. Something about it just ended up not coming to be. And so you would have almost had this retreat. Pouting, feeling sad, having to lick your wounds, having to kind of take a step back and reassess, okay, what am I going to do now, right? The biggest issue is not so much that the thing isn't happening. The biggest issue is the emotional reaction to the thing not happening, or the plans not coming through, or the pathway no longer being open. Whatever it was that you were attached to that was supposed to happen in the future, it's not so much about that. It's about the deep layers and layers and layers of emotions, expectations, attachments, desires. That's the biggest thing that you're dealing with right now. And the new moon solar eclipse in your 4th house is an opportunity to finish crying or finish sulking or finish licking your wounds. There's some sort of a refresh. Like, we have to go through that. We have to have that grief. We have to give ourselves the opportunity to sit with those heavy emotions and go, this freaking sucks. I'm mad. I'm sad, right? Let yourself do that. But it's important not to get stuck there. And so if you found yourself stuck there, if you found yourself really kind of lost in emotional soup, Monday's new moon solar eclipse is actually going to be a beautiful, awesome opportunity for you to be like, okay, I got that out of my system. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to come up with a new plan. I'm ready to come up with a new idea. I'm ready to dedicate myself to a new pathway moving forwards. It's good. I'm fine. Gonna be good, right? But the only way you can really actually be able to say that and mean that is if you grieved the loss, you know what I mean, properly. We have to let ourselves grieve. We can't just be like, it's fine, and hold it in. It turns into stress-related disease, right? So the emotions are part of it, the purging is part of it, and now moving forwards, the opportunity that you have to come up with a new plan, to have a new idea, whatever it is about kind of reformulating your idea or pathway to the future, the opportunity is in your 3rd house. So Mars conjunct Saturn in your 3rd house is, it's a 2 pathways moving forwards. You may feel heavy and weighed down. You may not be over your emotions yet. And if not, the Mars conjunct Saturn in Pisces would be, oh, well, I'll come up with a plan later, whatever. And then you sit, right? And then the other pathway is Mars conjunct Saturn in Pisces, thinking in a spiritual way, okay, where one door closes, another window or door opens. I know this for sure. I can move like water. I can find a pathway. It's not just about this obstacle or this dead end. Universe must be directing me somewhere else. Some opportunity is going to come available. So if you get lost in the details of how whatever it was you were expecting or looking forward to didn't work out, if you get really, really lost in the little details and maybe even start telling a story about how things always suck or things always get screwed up for you or whatever, oh man, you're going to anchor into that grief and not be able to get out. But if you can kind of take a step back and look at the bigger picture and go, okay, maybe this is a blessing in disguise. Maybe this outcome wouldn't have suited my highest good. You know what I mean? Like, just try your best. I'm not saying that everything has a meaning. Sometimes life just sucks, right? But the answer to getting yourself out of the emotional soup that you're in, the answer for you guys is going to be taking a step back and looking at the bigger picture. That's where you're going to find acceptance. That's where you're going to find peace. And that's where you're going to find a potential new pathway to a new idea or a new destination or a new outcome or a new plan. So sending you guys the biggest hugs. Allow yourselves to grieve, and then on the other side of it, find that exit door, find that new pathway, move like water. The path will be there. I wish you guys all the very best, and I'll see you next time. Aquarius, sun and rising. 2 weeks ago, you had some sort of emotional closure or opportunity to release a belief or perspective or some sort of imagined opportunity. Now, you may have seen the best side of this and completed some form of higher education. The ninth house has to do with not just philosophy, but learning opportunities. So you might have finished up some sort of a class or a course that you were taking. Another way in which this energy could have manifested 2 weeks ago with the eclipse is that you could have realized that some sort of perspective or belief was outdated, no longer relevant, or perhaps even unhealthy or just straight up wrong. So you might have had to change your mind about something. Another way it could have played out for you is that you might have had some sort of spiritual awakening in which you had a breakthrough and go, oh, now I get it. Now I understand. That's a full moon in the ninth house kind of vibe, right? And then what's opening up this week with the new moon solar eclipse on Monday in your third house, it's about putting ideas into action. So maybe connecting with a friend or someone in your network, personal or professional network, and going, hey, I realized something, now I want to share it. Or, hey, I had a breakthrough, I'd love to talk to you about it, right? So the energy for you guys this week is bringing whatever you realized or whatever you learned into your life, talking about it, sharing whatever it is, integrating it with your business, with your network, with your community. So thoughts into action. Now, the potential problem for you guys is that Mars is going to be conjunct Saturn in Pisces in the second house, leading to a tendency to procrastinate. You might delay putting something into action. You may say to yourself, oh, I don't know if this is the perfect time. Oh, I don't know if I really have enough money. Oh, I don't know if this is a good way to use my resources or my energy. So there's a huge risk this week of you talking yourself out of something that you realized or something that you committed to or something that you thought was the best idea ever just a few days prior. So whatever it is that you go, oh, that's a thing I should do or a thing that I really want to say, whatever it is that you realize around Monday, write it down. And also write down with it why you think it's a good idea, why it's important to you, why it feels relevant or huge. Because what's going to happen, excuse me, is by like Thursday, Friday, you're going to be like, I don't know. I mean, maybe not. Maybe I don't have to. Maybe it's not a good idea. There's going to be a moment of feeling foggy around your motivation, feeling foggy around whether or not it's even important or relevant. Now, only you know. But what I'm encouraging you to do is take notes on Monday and then compare them to how you feel Thursday, Friday, and see where the truth lies. It might be halfway in between. It might be the kind of thing where you were kind of overdoing it, and it is good to give it a second thought. But only you know. So please do compare how you feel and what you think Monday to Thursday, Friday. But all in all, it looks to be a great time of integrating new ideas, new realizations. There's a 99% chance that those realizations and those ideas were actually groundbreaking and really important and really, really relevant. So don't necessarily take a step back. What you might experience this week is an old standing unhealthy pattern of avoidance or procrastination or not doing the thing because you have fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of not being enough or being good enough or whatever it is. So please, please, please do consider all the potential factors this week as you kind of seesaw back and forth around whatever it is that you were thinking about, because you might be self-sabotaging. You might be repeating a pattern in which you pull the plug at the last minute and deprive yourself of an opportunity to be amazing or achieve a breakthrough, or right? So don't shoot yourself in the foot. Don't talk yourself out of amazing and awesome stuff. Please, please, please be very, very clear. And when in doubt, ask for somebody else's perspective if you're not sure. Somebody you trust, okay? I wish you guys all the very best, and I'll see you next time. Pisces, sun and rising. The 2 weeks ago would have been pretty intense for you guys because there was a full moon lunar eclipse in your 8th house. 8th house is life, death, rebirth. It is the phoenix rising from the ashes. It is the karmic patterns that we find ourselves in. It is the memories of past lives and memories of lives that haven't even happened. You may have found yourself awash in a cosmic energy bath. You may have been swimming out in the void and you are just now touching your toes back to earth and kind of getting a sense of where you stand. The new moon solar eclipse happening on Monday is in your 2nd house, definitely indicating that whatever kind of ethereal journey you were on, this week you're coming back to the ground. This week you're going to have both feet on the ground and your energy is going to be present here on earth. The biggest question is, how do you use what you learned? How do you integrate all of the realizations and breakthroughs into your day-to-day life? Now, the realizations and breakthroughs are all about who you are, how you apply yourself, how you move through this earth, and how you potentially might be avoiding greatness or avoiding, excuse me, I just had a big glass of water, or avoiding commitment. That's the word I'm looking for. The reason for that is that Mars is going to be conjunct Saturn in your sign. So therefore in your 1st house, house of self-expression, house of idealization, or the identity that you create, the roles that you play, right? Now, Mars conjunct Saturn is almost like hitting a dead end or hitting an obstacle or hitting a part in the maze where you're like, damn it, where am I? And the Piscean tendency is to be like, bloop, 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 whatever. But there is a hint in your horoscope this week that you have had some divine inspiration recently, and you have an opportunity to put it into play, to put your money where your mouth is, to manifest something into reality that came to you in a divine way. But Mars conjunct Saturn in your 1st house is a risk of you not doing the thing, procrastinating, holding yourself back, self-sabotage, self-doubt, avoidance, distraction, disassociation. Sometimes, as much as you absolutely love yourself, sometimes you can be reluctant to really put yourself out there because you have such a sacred relationship with yourself that you don't want the rest of the world to wreck it. And that's valid, right? You know, we want some sort of protective shell around ourselves when we're out there in the cold, cruel world sometimes. It can be very scary putting ourselves out there, but you are on the precipice of some sort of massive breakthrough when it comes to what you do with your time, how you make money, whatever it is you manifest in your life. And this feels like one of those karmic journeys, those karmic moments where it's like, if not now, when? There may never be a perfect time. There may never be a moment in which you feel 100% prepared or 100% ready. Are you going to hold yourself back for the rest of your life? Sometimes it's better to just do the thing and see what happens, right? And of course the choice is yours. Of course you have free will. But please do pay attention to the ways in which you avoid reality, avoid challenges, avoid situations in which you might fail or you might struggle, because you would rather take the easy way, or you'd rather surround yourself with comfort or familiarity, right? There is an opportunity for you to step outside of your comfort zone and either do something that you've always wanted to do, or have a massive breakthrough, or perhaps even achieve greatness or manifest the thing that you've always wanted. But it's only going to happen if you step out of your own repeating patterns. So I hope you know what that means. Of course, it's going to mean something different to everyone. But yeah, Pisces sun and rising, bringing an energetic idea or ideal to life. You have an amazing opportunity this week. And the opportunity that opens up on Monday is going to have reverberating effects for the next 6 months. If you can use this opportunity right around Monday, you can see results almost immediately, because it's like almost like getting a turbo boost in a racing game. So yeah, believe in yourselves, be brave, take the risk. I hope you have an amazing week, and I will see you next time. So thanks so much for being here. I love doing these videos for you guys. If you've ever wanted to book a private reading with me, you can do so from anywhere in the world at www.queenbeetarot.net. Have an amazing week. Mwah! I'll see you guys next time.